We're going one better than that. You're going to be on a plane on Thursday
to meet the greatest sports star on the planet today,
Michael Jordan. And the switchboard just exploded. If a hardware store was to sit across the road from Bunnings and they think that they're going to beat Bunnings on price, they need psychiatric help. If you buy a Happy Meal at McDonald's, you are wowed with a free toy.
That's a Happy Meal.
If you join Amazon's Prime membership, you are wowed with free shipping and free movies and free music. But 97% of businesses have never ever given an incentive to their customers.
Can we talk about your trading cards?
And we were doing just under $13 million turnover. And someone who worked for me made a big printing mistake and we lost 2.2 in 1 week. 10 to 5 on the day that we'll be closed up. JD, we made our decision. Yeah, he goes, you've got the license.
We can't go anywhere without mentioning Jerry Seinfeld.
I convinced Jerry after 6 months worth of annoying him. We just basically filled an empty shop with the Greater Building Society and he stood outside doing a stand-up. It went through the stratosphere.
What do you think's missing? What could tradies do to try and get that wow factor?
The answer is really, really easy.
As a tradie, making yourself stand out is essential. But when downlights, toilets and pergolas are all much the same, how do you set yourself apart? Well, strap yourself in, you bloody legend, because in this episode I chat with John Dwyer from the Institute of Wow. John is an old school direct marketer who's worked with the likes of Michael Jordan, Daryl Braithwaite and Paul Hogan, Princess Diana and even Jerry Seinfeld, for God's sake. This is a masterclass in how to stand out in a Me Too industry. And it also will give you some insights in how the big boys play. Now, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, that's totally cool. Keep listening, please. But because John had so much history in the YouTube version, I've added a ton of content, kind of just to make sure that you don't think John's speaking out his ass. Now, I extracted as much trade marketing juice from John as I possibly could. And all I ask of you is that you share this podcast with a mate. My mission is to help as many tradies as I can elevate their business to show the next generation how awesome a trade can be. So pause this podcast now, go ahead and share this with your mate Darren, because I know how much he bloody loves shit like this. Righto, enough fluff, let's get into it.
John, you bloody legend, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. If you could, maybe when you're putting this to air, if you could highlight the legend part and probably put just that as a super across the screen, legend.
Wasn't it magician before?
Magician, legend, numero uno, take your pick, show off.
Right, I want to start with some word association.
Oh, is this going to be like a TV quiz show?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay. So, 7-Eleven.
So what have I got? I've got to give you a word back.
Give me a word. Yeah, word association. One word.
Fast.
Coca-Cola.
Unhealthy.
Video easy.
Hyphenated word. Great pastime. That's one word.
And last one, Woolies.
Another hyphenated word. Self-serve, which I hate. I'm cheating. I know I'm not giving you one word.
Well, let's go back to when you started your marketing journey.
1842, yes.
1842. That's quite a while ago.
Yeah, a little while ago.
Yeah. But did you not work for Woolworths at some stage?
Yeah, I knew where that one word association was. Yeah, I was the advertising guy at the head office. And I was there when Woolworths used to give service. And the sort of things that I would come up with at the time, and your parents will be familiar with them, is what we call continuity loyalty programs, where every time you spent $10, you got a little stamp, and you lick the stamp and put it onto a saver sheet. And when you saved up enough stamps, you could get cookware and glassware for a ridiculously low price. And the whole idea of that was customer loyalty, to get you to come back and back and back.
Is that not Flybuys, essentially?
Flybuys is probably a more sophisticated version of it, where you get points and then you can use those points to get certain rewards. But this was back in the days that, I won't say pre-digital, but digital wasn't what it was now. Look, it would still work today, seriously, even with the digital world. I mean, if you think about a coffee shop.
Coffee cards, exactly.
Yeah, they did little coffee. And, those who try and turn that turn that little card into an app, they grossly disappointed because anyone over the age of 45 is not going to play that game.
Yeah.
Whereas if you give them that little business card size loyalty card where they get a stamp for every time they get a coffee, and the 10th stamp they get a free coffee, that'll work like a dream.
So, what other strategy? Obviously, this is a Digital Tradie podcast. What other strategies might you have that you think tradies could implement, like a loyalty card or something like that? It was really, really simple for them to implement.
None, actually. So it's
Yeah.
time. Wouldn't that be good?
You don't want to give away all your secrets. See you later.
Wouldn't that be good? But on one of these podcasts where, the tradies are watching this going, okay, this guy's got a coat on, so he's a dickhead. And what value am I going to get out of this? And all of a sudden you ask the leading question where I should give value, and I'm sorry, I've got to go down. Look, at the end of the day, I've never had anyone who has been a tradesman for our family. We've got 6 kids. They're all left home now, they're millennials, but as a result of having 5 boys in that 6 kids, we had to repair stuff. The Von Trapp family was on steroids, and so we had to repair ceiling fans or new PowerPoints in the wall because they ripped it out. Really giving a good rap to my kids, aren't I? But anyway, well, 3 of them are in jail at the moment, but the other 3 are doing fine. Yeah.
50%.
I think so. We've been 50% successful, yeah. But yeah, so we've used a lot of tradesmen over the years, from plumbers, electricians, builders, you name it. Not one of them has ever gifted us with a wow factor. And, my business is called the Institute of Wow. And so therefore, of course, I'm going to be biased towards wow factors. But, if you buy a Happy Meal at McDonald's, you are wowed with a free toy. If you join Amazon's Prime membership, you are wowed with free shipping and free movies and free music. If you buy a box of cornflakes, you got a wow factor. There's a toy in the bottom of the box, and so on and so forth. I've never had a tradesman ever in my entire life, which is 1842 or 170 years or something. I've never had anyone gift me with anything at all, really the only communication I've had from a tradesman over that period of time is, sorry, I know I said I was going to be here last week. So it's sort of wow in reverse. Yeah.
But it's
spelled wow backwards. I bet you can't. Yeah. So in a tradies instance, I mean, seriously, put people on some sort of reward program. And it could be if you are a lawn mowing guy. I mean, we had a guy come we're on 2.5 acres, and we had a lawn mowing guy come regularly. If we had decided to swap to another lawn mowing guy at any time, then he had himself to blame, because not once did he say, look, for every time I mow your lawn, I'm going to give you a point. And when you save up X number of points, then you get a free lawn mowing for free. Sorry, you get a lawn mowing for free.
Yeah.
Or we'll give you and your wife, Gail, a dining voucher for $150. It's just amazing. 97% of businesses, not just tradesmen, but 97% of businesses have never, ever given an incentive to their customers, which is nuts.
It's crazy, particularly for a tradesman. I mean, the services that you're going to give, and it's easier to transact with someone you've already given, worked with.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do something like that? It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And so, in our business over the years, we've taught lots of tradespeople, but any business, what we call direct response marketing. And direct response marketing, as that name infers, is all about providing someone with a reason to have a direct response. And normally that's not price discounting. If a hardware store was to sit across the road from Bunnings and they think that they're going to beat Bunnings on price, they need psychiatric help. Because Bunnings have got a mantra where we'll beat your price by 10% every time.
Yeah.
Whereas if that hardware store said, look, if you buy your wheelbarrow from me, if you buy anything from me to the value of $150, I'll give you a free pitchfork, or I'll give you a free shovel, or whatever it might be, then Bunnings could never match that. They would have 6 months worth of committee meetings trying to work out how they could do that, but they can't, because they're a 40-ton gorilla. So if you're a trades business and you are not the Coca-Cola of your industry, so therefore you are not the market leader, you've got to think outside the square and come up with what we believe is an incentive, a Happy Meal toy, to make sure that if you are quoting, we've got a solar guy. This solar guy is very, very entrepreneurial. And he has, if you like, Exhibit A, I'll just grab this behind here. It didn't take long for me to flog something, did it? But we have an association with a travel company that gives us hotel accommodation at 4-star resorts. that we can provide to businesses to give out as Happy Meal toy. And so basically it's 3 nights accommodation in Australia, the Gold Coast and Cairns and Townsville and Sydney and Melbourne. And what he does, he gets these off us for less than $50, but they're worth about $1,000. Okay, so it's a pretty sexy Happy Meal toy. And he has doubled his business by simply saying to Betty Bankstown, look, if you actually, because he said whenever he or any of his staff would go into Betty Bankstown's kitchen, then she would have 2 or 3 solar quotations on the table. And they're all within a few $100s of each other.
Yeah.
So which one does he choose? And if there's ever a Me Too industry, it's the solar industry. Those panels, there's not a supermodel version and then an ugly version. They're all just the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're in a Me Too industry, you need this sort of thinking. And what he does, he says, listen, I know you've got a number of quotations on the kitchen bench there. If you choose me before 5 o'clock tonight, you've got yourself a family holiday. And bang, 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 bang. His conversion rate went from 42 to 88% within a month, right?
Wow.
And all it is he's giving her a Happy Meal toy, a free holiday that's costing him less than $50, but to her it's worth $1,000. So that's the big difference. The reason McDonald's Happy Meal toy works is because those little toys are made in China for 25 cents.
Yeah.
But when you get it out of the Happy Meal box, its perceived value to you at the toy shop is $4 or $5.
Yeah.
So that's what you want. You don't want to give them a dining voucher for $50 because then they know that you value them at $50. You want an incentive that's small cost to you, $50, but it's worth $1,000.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I had maybe this is a good case study for you because I had an idea for him. I had a fencer come around to do my fence down the side of my house. And he said to me, it's such a tough business to be in, Dave, because, we're just competing on price, essentially. I said, well, when you're competing on price, obviously we need to separate out what are you actually trying, the benefit of what you're trying to do. And I said, the vast majority of people hate dealing with their neighbours. I said, why don't you try and solve that problem? Why don't you be the fencer that can come in
and kill your neighbour?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Good idea.
Why can't you be the mediator between these two parties and you become the fencer that everybody else will use for that reason?
So I've got to interrupt you. So you are going to promote mending the fence with your...
Yes.
You are cornier than me. Give up this whole...
That was brilliant.
Yeah, come and work with the Institute of Wow. You're on fire. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the Institute of Wow. Now...
4 times so far, yeah.
We can't go anywhere without mentioning Jerry Seinfeld. We've got to talk about Jerry Seinfeld.
I've never mentioned anything about Seinfeld, of course, so I don't make a big deal out of that.
Before we do,
Yeah.
Can you just, I know because you hate it, can you rattle off all the celebrities that you've worked with?
This is turning into a real wanker interview. But that's all right.
Love.
I'm a wanker, yeah. Before I do that, let me just, the fence thing is really interesting. The reason I say this, I didn't know whether you might have seen that case study, because, by the way, being a super wanker, I've got to show this book here. As he turns around and gets Exhibit A, I'm going to give this to you for free, by the way, and I'll tell you how to get that in a minute. This is the last 20 years of all of the ideas that have worked. I didn't put the ones that didn't work in there, all right?
Yeah, don't.
No, and so therefore, I will give this to you guys for free. I'll give it to you at the end of the podcast. So that's not a reason to stick around, not just for the dad jokes and the banter between 2 very, very funny guys. And this could be like a gift from heaven, I reckon. It's a very small book, but it's a good one.
So it does, Matt. And I'm actually very jealous because the stuff in there, honestly, it's ridiculous.
It's pretty good. This photo here, as all the wrinkles have been photoshopped away, so therefore I look half human there.
It was taken in 1938. So
no, 1892 actually. So anyway, look, I got to tell you this backyard fence thing. We had a client in Gosford, New South Wales, who was an aluminium fence manufacturer. Okay, and he said to me after one of my seminars one time, he came up to me after I got off stage and said, "My name's John Dwyer, but I get JD." He said, "JD, listen, you keep on promoting, social media and digital marketing. I have zeroed in to areas in Gosford that are older areas that would have an old fence. And I've put things in the letterbox, but I've also put ads on FacePage and it doesn't work." I said, "Well, it could be a reason for that because there's no such thing as FacePage." But you idiot.
I thought you got that wrong. I thought it was...
And I said, "No, that's good Facebook." "Oh, well, face something, whatever that face thing is." "Yeah, right, okay, right." And how do I attract these people to the seminars, So anyway, after that, we put a condition in that when they sign up to the seminar, they had to be able to spell IKEA. So anyway, he said to me, so what do we do? I said, well, why don't you get out of the way, join my program, go down the back of the room, and we'll have smoke coming out of your credit card in a few seconds, and then we'll do it for you. So we actually put together a campaign, which was a Facebook campaign. It was the ugliest back fence in Australia contest. Who do you want to attract if you're an aluminium fence maker? Someone who's got an ugly back fence, of course. So therefore, just get them to flush out and glow in the dark. So we ran a campaign on Facebook, which was the ugliest back fence in Australia contest. You had to take a photo of your ugly falling down paling fence, submit it to us, and you're in the chance to win a $5,000 makeover, all right? And of course, which cost the fence company $1,000 to $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We spent $702, and in 3 days we had to shut it down. He rang me and said, I got 6 months worth of leads.
Wow.
Because what you do is you just flush out everyone who glows in the dark. And not only says, I have a crappy back fence, so I'm a prime prospect for a new fence, but guess what? Here's a photo of it doesn't get much hotter than that.
Yeah.
So we do it for kitchen renovations, basically the ugliest kitchen in Australia contest, and all of a sudden you get 12 months worth of leads within a month.
What else could you do? Like, I'm thinking of maybe a Sparky. Could you do a contest like, what's your ugliest chandelier or light or something, or pendant light, stuff like that?
You can do that, but you don't even have to go down the ugly path. I mean, that's obviously a little bit of, sort of sarcastic fun, but you can just have a contest. We have a blueprint. It's a product that we sell, which is called the Facebook Contest Blueprint. And what that does is it shows businesses how to run contests on Facebook. If you're not running a contest on Facebook, you should be.
Because I should be doing that, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should. Well, everyone should be. If I want some more money, okay. I mean, I basically am very, very wealthy. I own islands, and that's why I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I own my private islands, and I own. Let me think. What else? Cruise ships.
Yeah.
And I sold my my airplane business, my private sort of airplane business, but outside of that, back to being serious. Yeah. So therefore, if I want some more money, I'll hold a contest on social media, and in my instance, it might be LinkedIn because I'm B2B, and that is, how would you like to win a marketing consultancy package with JD? He's the guy that works with Seinfeld and da 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 da. I will get 1,000 entries. I'll give one away, but I've got 999 people who go, yeah, we want to win some time with JD.
Yeah.
So of course they're a warm prospect. It doesn't take me much to close any of them because they've already put their hand up and said, I'm a devotee. So if you're a Sparky, for example, I would say, look, I will provide you with a prize, and that prize will be X dollars worth of electrical services. Now, whether that's ceiling fans or smoke detectors or PowerPoint, same with a plumber, same with a builder, a kitchen renovation or bathroom renovation. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Hold a damn contest on Facebook. There is a few little tweaks to it, and that's why we've got
caveats.
Well, that's I mean, obviously we've got to eat too, so that's why we have a package. Because what we've found with most small businesses, it doesn't matter whether they're tradies or not, they're very good technicians, but they're not flash at marketing. Because when they went through the course, and I mean, you're different because of what you're doing these days. You're very savvy with marketing, particularly digital marketing.
So I'm the best, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've got JD on, so I must be.
Mate, you're just the best. I find that once you learn to fake sincerity, you've just got it made. Yeah. So I love you. You're the best. But seriously, the thing is that, even a doctor and dentist, we have plenty of them on board. And when I say to them, how many years did you go to uni to become a doctor or dentist? They go, 4 or 5 years. And I go, did they ever teach you how to get patients, how to find sick people, And they said, no. I said, well, there you go. The crazy thing is, most people come out of uni as a terrific technician, chef, electrician, they can be a builder, or they can be a doctor or dentist, but no one has ever taught them how to get customers. Like, it's insane.
It is kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like dealing with money. It's the same thing, We don't get taught how to deal with money very well.
You got and just being serious for a second. I mean, you hear of some of these people now preaching that the school system, particularly the school system, maybe the university system's a different thing, but the school system should teach kids, not necessarily history as in World War I, World War II, teach them how to manage their money.
Yeah.
Because these kids come out of school and they've got no clue.
No clue at all. Yeah. Oh, and they're coming into massive debts. A lot of them have university education that they've paid for or got a HEX debt. It's crazy.
Yeah, the HEX thing. So, so look, just with regards to that back fence thing, I'm glad you did bring it up because that contest formula on social media, I mean, mainly Facebook for a lot of businesses, is definitely a way to flush out not mild leads, but red hot leads, because
Yeah.
they're saying, I want to win your electrical services. And boy, you don't get much. And people say, well, I mean, we had a swimming pool slide guy. So I don't know why I'm doing that. I think you'd know what a slide is, but anyway.
For those watching on YouTube.
Whoever's watching this,
Yeah.
this guy's a dickhead.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I'm going to watch reruns of the Brady Bunch. But yeah, so a swimming pool slide company owned by a husband and wife, about my vintage, I guess. And they said, look, what do we do? I said, well, hold a contest on Facebook, and it was win a pool slide. Obviously, we're targeting people with pools. Pool slides not much use in an apartment, we found. So anyway, of course, he holds the contest. He had 1,600 entries in a matter of weeks, and basically the prize was, if I could go to Exhibit A again, we gave him 50 of these, so he bought 50 of these for $50.
Yeah.
So we said, $50 each, sorry. He said on the Facebook ad, win a pool slide and a holiday. Okay, so he had 1,600 entrants. He gave one away, and the other 1,599 he could contact and say, look, good news is some bad news. The bad news is you didn't win the pool slide and the holiday. Good news is we've got a special deal on the pool slide by Friday. If you get in by Friday and buy it from it, we'll give you the damn holiday.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's evil, but it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's evil, but it's brilliant.
Hang on. Doctor. But yeah, I mean, and nobody does this sort of thing because, and all jokes aside, yes, it is, I guess, a certain IP value that we bring to the table, because I did all the scratch bingo contests for Murdoch newspapers over the years.
Can we talk about your trading cards as well?
Not tradie cards, trading cards.
Trading cards?
I don't think it'd be a hit for the kids to be collecting tradie cards.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a plumber.
Hey, you never know.
I don't think. I know I'm
You
insulting.
could get a Scotty Cam on there or something.
Maybe.
Block.
I hope I'm not insulting the audience, but I can't see the kids rushing to the news agency, rip it open. I got a plumber. I got an electrician. We'll swap that in the school playground.
So it is kind of bizarre to me, this whole trading card thing, at least looking back from my generation now, but it was a big deal back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did you get into the trading cards, and how big did it get?
Yep. Yeah, look, it was for us. I mean, this is 20 odd years ago we were doing it, and we were doing just under $13 million turnover at that time.
In trading cards?
In trading cards, mainly. I mean, a few of the dollars in that were the scratch bingos for the newspapers and stuff like that, and scratch games for, Red Rooster and KFC and all that. And would you believe Video Easy back in the day? But yeah, the vast majority of that turnover was a result of taking out licenses with the Rugby League and the AFL, and also with Disney with their movies like Lion King or Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast, and DreamWorks with Shrek and all that. So we'd take out the licenses for that, for bubblegum cards or trading cards, and for posters and for stickers and books and all that. And of course, we'd sell them to a news agency or Big W or Kmart. But the Rugby League cards are probably a wow factor case study. It's worth me showing off. The year before we took over the Rugby League trading cards, Scanlon's Bubblegum, which is the bubblegum company I grew up with as a kid, but your generation wouldn't know who they were, but they had all the bubblegum cards in those days. So back in those days, the big football stars were the Graham Langlands and Johnny Raper and this, that and the other. So as a kid at school, I'd collect all of them. They did $2 million worth of turnover in selling trading cards that particular year before we took over. When we took over, I went to the newspapers and gave them millions of Mal Meninga, Andrew Eddinghausen cards to give away with the Sunday paper. So I'd go to the Sunday Telegraph in New South Wales or whoever it was in Melbourne, the Herald Sun, and I'd say, look, you've got 1 million circulation of your newspaper. I'll give you 2 million football cards to hand out with the paper this Sunday, just for free.
And they were just they just open it up and there it is.
They go at the news agency. The news agency would give you 2 cards with the paper. Yeah, because otherwise it probably would fall out. Yeah. But the thing is that for me, that was a sampling exercise from heaven. Not only did the newspaper, they charge Harvey Norman to put a brochure in the newspaper, like an insert, 75 grand. I've got my inserts for free. Because it had
75 grand is how much it would cost.
Back in the day, if you wanted to put your magazine, your Woolworths magazine or your Harvey Norman in the paper, they'd charge you 75 grand.
Holy
well, why? Because you're inside a paper that's being sold to 1 million people.
I get it, but it's pretty
full on. I mean, Rupert Murdoch makes Ned Kelly look like a gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we would do, because I just wanted to milk the daylights out of the publicity, I would say to the Sunday paper, and by the way, even though you might think, well, what's this got to do with trading? You can do it. You can do this yourself. It doesn't matter whether you're a builder or whether you're a sparky or whether you're a plumber. The same mentality of providing someone with value in return for publicity is still there in the digital world. Is still there. It's just a different communication vehicle now because they're not selling 1 million papers every Sunday anymore. But so what we did is that I would say to the marketing manager, look, I'll give you 2 million of these bubblegum cards, which cost me a cent each, so it's 20 grand, right?
Yeah.
But again, the perceived value of those cards, because at the news agency they're sold for $2 a packet, the perceived value was a lot. And I say, I'll give those to you to hand out with the paper on Sunday. And they go, well, knowing that they'd put me on TV, get your football cards from this Sunday's paper. And on the front page, would you believe, and this is the fact, is that unless there was World War III, we took up half the front page, get your free footy cards in today's paper. Like, you can't buy that publicity.
Serious.
Well, you wouldn't believe it. I said to my wife on the morning that we did this on one occasion, America had bombed Saddam Hussein. Okay, so they had got Saddam Hussein, and that news hit overnight. And I said, "Oh no, my football cards are coming out with the Sunday paper the next day. We're off the front page." Guess what? I raced down to the news agency at 6 a.m. Outside is all the newspaper headlines telling you what was that on the Sunday Telegraph. It was, get your footy cards with today's paper. When I got the paper, 2/3 of the front of it was, get your free footy cards with today's paper. Underneath, like that much, was, oh, by the way, America just bombed Saddam Hussein.
That is insane.
No, Hussein.
Yeah,
Hussein.
Hussein. Did they give you any data as to how many you were selling? Because obviously it was a big deal for them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put it there.
Yeah. For them, the newspapers, because they could see the digital world was around the corner, they would do anything to get you to buy the paper because they realised news is not selling it like it used to. Okay?
Gotcha.
So therefore, and it's still that way today. You can still do it today if you think through this. We just do it a bit differently now. So it's milking massive publicity. So I sold both of my homes on Channel 9. So we didn't have to get a real estate agent involved. I just sent out a press release and said, we're selling this home. It's got a football field and tennis court and home theatre and this, that and the other. And they're there in the afternoon with the camera crew. But this only happened a few months ago because we've moved from acreage on the Gold Coast to an apartment because all of our kids had left home.
Yeah.
And we had because I'm an idiot, we had a little, my clients have included Parramatta Leagues and Panthers and, the big leagues clubs. So I knew where to get the little mini football posts and all this sort of stuff. So throughout the years, the kids were growing up. Then they had a football field and soccer field and tennis court. So I just sent out a press release to the newspapers and the TV stations about 4 months ago and just said, look, the field of dreams. So I'm milking someone else's equity. So it's good fun to borrow equity.
Oh, 100%.
So would you like to, do a story? And within 2 hours there with the camera crew, and they got the drone, and we sold it pretty much the next week because you have gazillions of people coming in and going, we want to look at that home.
Yeah.
So there's a way to get publicity, and normally it's either invent something, which most people don't, okay, or it's be provocative, which I'm reasonably good at,
I can only imagine the ads we could
You're an idiot.
John.
You're an idiot. And the third way of doing it is to actually give something of value away. And what we did with the bubblegum cards, we gave something of value away to the newspaper, and they went, thank you. I remember the marketing lady said to me at the time, you're giving us 2 million of these football cards to give away with the Sunday paper. You don't want anything? Well, no, I knew I was going to be on the front page if there wasn't World War III. And she said, do you want something? I said, no, look, my Auntie Teresa, known as Mother Teresa to a lot of people, but my Auntie Teresa taught me to I live to give. So therefore she bought that, yeah.
So what was the end game in the end for the trading cards? Obviously,
we went from 2 million to 12 million in 1 year. So we took the rugby league cards, and Tina Turner was around at the time, Simply the Best. It was a big, thing. Again, I know you come from Melbourne, but she was basically the star attraction with the rugby league song.
Yeah.
And so it was a big period for rugby league. There's no question about that. But we took the revenue from the trading cards. The bubblegum company the year before did 2 million in 2 states. It's only Queensland and New South Wales, of course. And then we took that from 2 million to 12 million in 1 year. So it was pretty spectacular. Yeah. Mind you, I got all the guys on the footy show, like Fatty on the footy show, and, and I had Mal Meninga. I made sure I, rewarded him. Every time they were interviewed, it was always, by the way, you should go to your news agency and get the footy card. So, we planted seeds everywhere, but 2 million to 12 million in 1 year is a pretty good lift. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
There is truth in the saying than spend money to make money? Because
Yep.
I know a lot of people, particularly these days with organic social, they're like, just put a lot of effort into doing organic social. You don't need to spend a lot of money. But sometimes if you've got the right strategy, it sounds like it is well worth putting some money into the actual marketing campaign.
Just depends how fast you want results, that's all. And
Yeah.
if you're in it for the long game, then keep on providing organic posts and doing all of that, but you might be 105 by the time you make a sale, you know.
Exactly.
Unless you're Gary Vee. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so the thing is that these people who invite, I mean, you've got a number of cameras here today, and, you know, because of the production quality that you have, and when you're watching this, you don't realize it, but David has a staff of 29.
We all fed them and everything as well.
29.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no one. But yeah, so if you want to get rich quick, then organic posting is not the way to do it unless you're Gary Vee. But if you're Gary Vee and you do all of that where a camera crew follows you 24/7, be prepared to have a divorce. Seriously, well, no wife
It's a
or
lot.
husband's going to put up with a camera crew, and Gary
Yeah.
Vee is divorced, right?
Yeah.
And everyone who preaches that, oh, I have a camera follow me 24/7, I haven't seen too many of them that are still in their first marriage. That's just the way it is. And I'm telling it like it is. That's the way it is. You cannot have someone shadowing you 24/7. You might make a lot of money out of it because they're really, really good social media posts, but you're not going to have your partner put up with that for too long. So my view is that you do both. Sure. I mean, I have a girl that pumps out all my stuff all the time. I mean, it looks like it's coming from me, but you know, if you've got this level of history, then I just get her to dig out case study after case study after case study, and she puts it all out there. Of course, it's under my name.
Yeah.
But you know, if I want money fast, I pay for it.
Yeah.
I give Facebook or I give LinkedIn or I give Instagram some money because that is only going to work, of course, is if you've got a compelling offer. If you don't have a compelling offer and you're going, hey, I'm ABC Electrical Services and I do exciting stuff like PowerPoints, smoke alarms, ceiling fans, that's not going to make you any money.
No.
Whereas if you said, look, I'm ABC electrician, and if you spend $500 with me doing all of this stuff for you, I'm going to give you a free holiday. Bang, the phone rings. Yeah.
I actually had another guy on the podcast that used to work with True Value Solar, and they were consistently doing giveaways. I don't know if it was holidays, but it was, you know, get your rebates back and all the rest of it. So there's obviously a lot of learnings that you can take from that. So
Oh, sorry, Seinfeld. You asked that about 20 minutes
can
ago.
we?
Yeah, to answer that question that you asked a day ago, the Seinfeld thing, yeah, what happened is that we had a bank client here in Australia, a building society, and it is called the Greater Building Society. And if you're outside of New South Wales and Southeast Queensland, you've probably never heard of it because it's in New South Wales and Southeast Queensland. But essentially, it's a challenger brand. And I bet you that 90% of the tradies who are watching this are challenger brands.
Do you want to explain that a little bit more?
I was going to say, could you ask me, JD, what's a challenger brand?
Well, JD, what's a challenger brand?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked that. Challenger brand is one that is not the Coca-Cola of their industry. They're not the Commonwealth Bank of their industry. So they're not the 40-ton gorilla. They are challenging the 40-ton gorilla. And the best example of that would be Virgin Airlines when they came to Australia all those years ago. Richard Branson's advertising agency very cleverly came up with a tagline was, keep the air fair.
Oh, that's
And,
great.
yeah, the fare was FARE, right? So we immediately thought Qantas have been ripping us off for 30 years, you know. So it was very clever challenger brand marketing.
Yeah.
And so challenger brand marketing has got to be cheeky, it's got to be irreverent, it's got to be unusual. And so therefore, this particular building society asked me to come on board as a consultant. I spent a few weeks looking at their boring advertising, and their boring advertising was a mum and dad going to the local branch and the branch manager smiling and the people behind the teller desk smiling, and they hand over a little money box, stuff that makes you want to throw up, basically, right? Like it was just smolchy. And I said to them, no, look. And they would advertise on interest rate. Get a home loan from the Greater, and it's only 6.2%, whatever it was. I said, you can't do that. It's like the hardware store trying to beat Bunnings. You're a challenger brand, a little building set. They were the 250th biggest business in Australia, but they were still small compared to the Westpac, right?
Yeah.
I said, they're going to beat you in a heartbeat. If you go 6.2, they're going to be 6.1. I mean, what are you people smoking? And after I had insulted them throughout a month, because I'm not a consultant, I'm an insultant, they said, okay, smart Alec, well, what do we do? And so I was in their boardroom and I threw a Happy Meal box on the table. And this was meant to be, get their attention. And they go, yeah, okay, Smiley, because they knew my sarcasm by then. So they went, oh, yeah, Mr. Funny, who thinks he's funny. What's this all about? I said, this is going to be a home loan thing. I pull out a toy. And I said, let me ask all of you people, who's got grandkids or kids? And they all put their hand up. I said, okay, who's bought a gazillion Happy Meals? And they said, oh, we have. I said, okay, let's see if we can. I've got $100 here. I'm going to give anyone $100 because you're a financial institution. That should mean something. If you can tell me the price of a Happy Meal. No one got within 50 cents because McDonald's have taken our eyes off the price with the free
Happy Meal
toy. The toy. And I said to them, that's what you got to do. You got to come up with a Happy Meal toy because Westpac won't follow that. They won't know how to do it, all right? But they'll beat you on interest rate like in a heartbeat. And I had been doing some infomercials on Channel 9 for a travel wholesaler. So I knew that you could get $5,000 holidays for 2.5. So I gave the introduction of them to the Greater Building Society and they said, we'll give it a bill. And so therefore we did. And the first 3 months of saying, get a home loan, get a free holiday, they doubled their home loans, and in the first 15 months, tripled their home loan. We're talking billions, not millions.
Wow.
And I am a complete moron because I never charged a percentage of the increase in home loans.
Oh, no.
So you're talking to the world's most stupid person, all right? I'm complete. If like I'd got a 0.0000001% of 1%, I would have bought Fiji, So anyway, it exploded. It went nuts, and then about 3 or 4 years in, after this thing just went absolutely. We had to increase the call center from 15 to 35 women straight away because the phones just went. I mean, we just came on TV, and I used basically testimonial endorsements from the customers. So we'd go into the customer's home with a TV crew and we'd say, off you go. And they go, well, we used to have a home loan with one of the big four. We swapped across to the Greater because we got a free holiday.
Yeah.
You have a number of families saying that on TV every night and the switchboard just exploded, right?
Wow.
That's why this came about. I'll tell you what. So what happened 3 or 4 years in, we decided to take up a level. The general manager of the Building Society said, okay, JD, I mean, this has been incredible. We've scooped up all the low-lying fruit. What do we do from here? I said, well, listen, leave it with me. I think we might use a celebrity. And they said, who? I said, I don't know, let's put out a survey. So we put out a survey and asked all of the members of the Building Society and others who would be a cheeky personality that would match the cheeky brand that we had. Because the cheeky brand that we had, Challenger brand, was, don't go to a bank. They just don't even know your name. They treat you like a number and they give you nothing. Come to the Greater, you get a free holiday and we'll know your name. And so therefore I said, let's go out there. So I was hoping the research would show that Bert Newton or someone like that, Rove would be good because they'd be easy to get.
Yeah.
No, it came in. Jim Carrey, Robin Williams, Jerry Seinfeld would be a good personality to get for this bank. Terrific. That's going to be easy, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I won't bore you with the details, but I convinced Jerry after 6 months worth of annoying him.
I want to know, how do you get a prospect like that? What do? You literally do just persist and how do you do it?
Yeah, pretty much. And look, I know, and I'll be serious for a moment, but Dave asked me a little while back, who are these personalities? But over the years, I've been able to get even Princess Di, would you believe? But Michael Jordan, Paul Hogan, Crocodile Dundee, and Steven Spielberg, and Sylvester Stallone, and all of these people to do stuff like this. And each one of them have said yes for the same reason that Seinfeld said yes. And see, I believe persistence beats intelligence, luckily for me. And when I said to Jerry in New York when we were having a cup of coffee one day, I mean, he got 1.1 million a year by 3 years. That's the deal that we did. Okay, so he picked up 3.3 million, and he did basically, 2 days worth of work each year. So we'd go over, we'd fly over and do the TV commercials. So he'd get 1.1 for 2 days work. But Ricky Ponting gets 1.5 million from Synovus Vitamins. So we did pretty well.
Wow.
The biggest star in the world, just about, for less than what you pay an Australian.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big curve. But I said to him on the first meeting that we had in his office, why did you do this? Because, I know to us normal people, it's a lot of money, but you've got more money than God. And he said, well, 2 reasons. He said, number one, I love Australian sense of humour. And he said, and you want me to take the piss out of banks, I take the piss for a living. So that's great. And number two, I said to my secretary, if I didn't say yes, this guy's never going to go away.
So persistence is the key, because I've got an underlying question here, but I want to know because I have a prospective person that I'm trying to get in contact with, a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you think persistence
is that Alcoholics Anonymous or
no? No. And you just think it's persistence.
Yeah, it is.
That's it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, particularly these days. Back in the day, I used to do a lot of stuff back with a few of the entertainers in the day. Johnny O'Keefe, and won't mean much to you, but he was the Elvis in Australia, and Darryl Braithwaite, who had a big group at the time called Sherbet and so forth. And you would have to know who their agent was, and eventually go through, basically a gatekeeper after gatekeeper. These days, with the digital world, what it is, if you want to know who Jerry Seinfeld's manager is, you type in Jerry Seinfeld's manager, and up it comes on in front of you. So it's a lot easier these days to at least find out who you need to talk to.
Yeah.
And in his instance, his management was a guy called George Shapiro. So if you look at the Seinfeld credits at the end of each show, it's produced by Shapiro West, and one of those is George Shapiro. And he only just passed away a year ago. So he'd been Jerry's manager for like 40, 50 years. And I got on pretty well with him. He was very cheeky and sarcastic. So, of course, we got on pretty well. The first phone conversation we had, he said, JD, I want to ask you something. I've seen all your 1 million, emails. He said, the Greater Building Society, exactly what does it build? I went, oh, God, you've taken a lot of notice, haven't you? It doesn't build anything. It's a bank. And he goes, well, why the... So, they don't call it a bank. So, I don't know. I'm just a consultant. So we got on pretty well.
Yeah.
And he put it to Jerry, and he came back to me and said, look, I told Jerry you just want to take the mickey out of the big banks. And he said, yeah, it sounds good. So let's do it.
That is brilliant.
So we'd fly over, and I'd spend a couple of days with him. We built a Greater Building Society branch, a complete branch, out of an empty delicatessen shop. Not far away from where he lives, because it was too expensive to bring him to Australia. And so therefore 15 minutes away from the Hamptons in New York was this little town called Cedarhurst. And we just basically filled an empty shop with the Greater Building Society, and he stood outside doing a stand-up. So the whole idea is people are walking past in the street who are extras, of course, and they just ignore him. And he's made a comeback to stand up. And of course, the stand up that he's doing is telling people you get a free vacation or a free holiday if you take out a home loan. It went through the stratosphere. It went nuts.
I love Australia, and I can prove it.
One of the most fun deals in Australia is a free holiday with your home loan, and you can only get that at the Greater.
There's no words to describe this.
Wow.
It went nuts. And of course, you got Seinfeld involved in anything. And, we're on the Today Show, the Sunrise Show, Current Affair, every news show in Australia, of course, and Seinfeld would do some of the interviews, but because he is who he is, he couldn't do all of them. So Mr. Shy would do the rest of them.
Yeah.
In fact, I might just show 20 of them if that's all right. Because
Sure. So obviously that was a fairly big high of your career.
Oh.
I mean, being an entrepreneur, there's always lows. What has been some of the lowest parts?
Probably now.
God, walked right into that.
Anyway, so that's how money jokes. Look, there has been. I mean, the life of an entrepreneur is a roller coaster. It's not a merry-go-round, and that stands for just about every entrepreneur. We've had a few low points, and with 6 children, as I said, they've all grown up now, but with 6 children throughout a couple of those low points, it's not fun because you're the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And with 6 kids, there's no way that your wife could work. So therefore, she was always a stay-at-home mum. And there was on a couple of occasions there. One in particular, I had about 25 staff at the time, and we were doing all the scratch bingos, and we were doing a lot of the bubblegum cards and so forth for Disney movies. And someone who worked for me made a big printing mistake, and we lost 2.2 in 1 week.
2.2 million.
Yeah.
In 1 week.
Not $2.20, no, 2.2 million. Yeah. And
how does that happen? How does that get past the key?
What had happened is that when you're printing these bubblegum cards, they are printed in a big sheet about the size of 3/4 of a desk. Okay. Yeah. And there might be 100 cards up to that printing sheet. And what happens is that then they get cut with a bread slicer, and then half a dozen at a time get put into a polypropylene pack. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
And I was over in America visiting Disney for another movie license, and the chap who was running my business for me at the time, unfortunately, put the cards in the wrong position when they were up to this printing sheet. So instead of having number 14, number 64, number 112, and they're all jumbled up so that when they get cut up, they're all different numbers in the bubblegum.
Yeah.
He put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which meant that if you went to the news agency and you bought a pack of cards, you had 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6.
Oh no!
So what happened? Every talkback, Darren Hinch, I had John Laws, I had Alan Jones, you name it, chasing me on radio saying we've had mums ringing up saying their kids are buying the Beauty and the Beast cards, and buying 3 or 4 packets at their local news agency, and they're getting 1 to 6, 1 to 6. It's a scam and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, as it turned out, we had to bring back all the cards, and ordinarily you would you'd burn them, but of course we gave them to one of the charities because might as well frustrate the hell out of them by 1 to 6, 1 to 6.
How did you
That's it.
find out about it? Was that a phone call from one of your staff?
Yeah. Well, what had happened is that I was met at the airport from this particular staff member, and he just said to me, "I'm sorry, I've made a fatal mistake." And I said, "My goodness." And so, yeah, we had to leave our home, would you believe, on Mother's Day, which was not fun.
Why did you leave your home?
Well, we lost it. Yeah, we lost it. So therefore,
It was at Dwyer.
Oh,
Really?
yeah,
Was.
I didn't have 2.2 million sitting around, So yeah. So
Wow, that is crazy.
yeah, I'll never forget driving down in my Tarago, and the kids are in the back. And I think at that time we probably only had the 3 kids, but nonetheless, we had enough kids. And then I remember looking across at my wife, and the kids had just given her Mother's Day present, but there was tears rolling down her face because she's just lost her home, which made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And the only way that I could make a comeback quickly, I'm sort of, if you say, well, do you follow mild or wild? And obviously it's wild, I can't do mild. And so I knew that if we had to get back on our feet quickly, there was only one way to do it. And I had pitched at that time to the Rugby League for the license for the Rugby League cards. We were doing Disney and Hanna-Barbera, as in Flintstones, and we're doing all the bubblegum cards and the stickers for those properties. But I didn't have the Rugby League card, and I was one of 6 companies pitching for it because Scanless Bubblegum were giving it away.
Yeah.
So I was one of 6 companies, but we were the only marketing company. The other companies were confectionery companies, so therefore they were trying to sell their lollies with the football cards. And as it turned out, persistent speech intelligence, because the guy that had that ran the licensing for the Rugby League, who's a good mate now, but I didn't know him at the time, Graham Clarkey, I would basically put a very professional pitch in. We're going to give the samples away with the Sunday newspaper. We're going to be on the footy show and all of this stuff that a marketing company would do, but a confectionery company wouldn't. So I'm thinking that would distinguish me from them, which it did. But he just wasn't quick at making a decision. And the bank had told me on the 4th of the month 2 things. A, get rid of 15 of your 25 staff, which unfortunately I had to do. And B, if by the end of the month you don't get the Rugby League license, which they knew would be a pretty good comeback, then we're closing the doors. We're going to close up the doors, right? And as it turned out, you wouldn't believe it, 10 minutes, I bugged the Rugby League guy. He had messages overnight, he had phone calls, he had faxes back in the day. Have you made the decision? Have you made the decision? And as it turned out, the guy upstairs works in funny ways. He's a real teaser because 10 minutes before 5 o'clock, when the bank comes in with the chains to lock up the door, I know it sounds like a movie script, but it's the truth. 10 to 5 on the day that we'll be closed up, I get a call, and it's Graham Clark from the Rugby League, and I'm shaking, of course. He didn't know my position.
Yeah.
And I said, hello, and he goes, JD, we made our decision. I go, yeah. He goes, you got the license.
No way.
And he said, but on one condition. And I went, anything. He goes, you never ring me again for the rest of your life. You are the most annoying bastard I have ever met in my life. I don't ever want to talk to you again, And little did I know, of course, we'd become great friends after that. But wait for this. This is the clown. About 3 or 4 years later, we made the whole $2 million back in one season, one football season.
That's
right?
insane.
And of course, we paid off all of our debts, and that was the wonderful comeback. And that was, of course, because we're on the footy show. We put out the sample cards in the newspapers. We're a marketing company, so we knew how to sell it if we just got the license, And as it turned out, about 3 or 4 years later, at a barbecue at my place, I just said to him, "Thank you very much, because you didn't know what was going on at the time, but this was it." And I gave him the story, and he's drinking a beer, and he looked across at me. I think he was a smoker too, and he went, "What makes you think I didn't know the story?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "I knew exactly." He said, "We're not complete morons. We checked the background. We know you lost all this money."
No way.
And I said, so I said, "No way. Why the hell would you give it to a business that was nearly bankrupt?" And he said, "Because of the passion that you showed and the enthusiasm, and of course your track record. I'd seen a few other things." And he said, "I put my job on the line to give you this because the other powers that be are going, no, just give it to an established confectionery company." And he said, "No, I think this guy might just do it." So
wow, that's
I had to give him a beer hug. I mean, that was an ultimate compliment. Yeah.
I mean, and ultimately, it wasn't really a fault of yours it was a mistake.
It was a
made.
mistake,
A
yeah.
huge mistake. That could not be any bigger, really.
Doesn't get much better. I mean, I've never made a mistake, so I can't really
Exactly.
talk for other people. I did make a mistake in 2003, and the mistake I made was that I thought I'd made a mistake. So.
It was it, but it wasn't, was it? No.
There'd be no one listening at this point. They would have left by now. Like they go, dad joke central. I'm out of here.
Well, so we talked about Jerry Seinfeld, and you mentioned Del Braithwaite, Michael Jordan. That was another huge part of your career, wasn't it? How did all that come to be?
After this particular scenario, where we'd made a ridiculously quick comeback, I just felt that I had to pay the guy upstairs back. What had happened is that throughout that dark period, I'd called in, we'd lost our home, we had to move into a little, sort of 2-bedroom unit where I think all the kids were squashed into one bedroom. And I remember saying, oh God, it doesn't, get more stressful than this. And I dropped the little kids off to a little St. Joseph's school one day in Riverwood, which is in Sydney. And the church next to them was the St. Joseph's Church. And so I just thought, well, I'll drop the kids off at their school. I think at the time they were in year 1 or year 2. And I'd just go and say a prayer. So I went to the front door to say a prayer. And guess what? The doors were locked. So,
Good stuff.
this is like at 8:30 in the morning. So I looked, I went, I get it. All right, I get it. So I thought, I'll go around the side. And as I went around the side, the priest was just opening up the side door. And he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I just want to get in, but the doors are locked. And he goes, I'm just opening it up now, but can I help you? I said, yeah, I just want to empty the poor boxes and take all the money. And anyway, so I just said a prayer to the guy upstairs and just said, look, I just want to be able to give the family a house again, if you don't mind. Is there any chance at all that if you can help me get back on my feet, which of course was the football license, then I absolutely promise you that I'll do something that would inspire other people to just never, ever give up, and because that's the only way you can get out of these holes. You just don't ever, 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 ever give up. And so anyway, we got out of the hole and I had to keep my promise. So I said to my wife, what happened? We got out of the hole and then within 6 months afterwards, I had a business where everyone wanted to buy it. Anyone that had printed material wanted to buy it. We had Murdoch magazines who produced the magazines Better Homes and Garden and various big magazines. They came to me and offered to buy the business because it was ink on paper.
Yeah,
perfect for a penny. And so we did. I got out. I didn't want to put my wife through stress again because she actually had really rolled the dice on me. Her father was a compulsive gambler and lost 4 houses.
Oh
So
my God.
she marries an entrepreneur. What an idiot.
Yeah.
I only lost 1 house.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to put her through that again. It was pretty nasty. And so we sold it. And I just said to Gail, look, before I start doing stuff again, which is what we do now, I've got to pay him back because, that was a miracle. There's no question about it. And so therefore, the best way I could pay back is not mild, but wild. So we came up with a TV program called Dreams Can Come True. And it's all about fulfilling dreams to needy people, okay? And because there's a lot of people out there that, just need help. I pitched it to Channel 10 and they said yes. And so we came on of a Sunday night up against 60 Minutes, would you believe, on Channel 9. We beat them in ratings, which goes to show good news does sell.
Yeah.
And the program was hosted by Darryl Braithwaite. The funny part about it, I rang Darryl and said to him, would you host the show? And he goes, what? We had Angry Anderson was going to do it, and Angry had to pull out because he had another project. And I said, who's going to do it now? He said, we'll get Darryl. He said, I've been on a few shows with him, and I know he's a rock star, but he's a pretty good host. I went, okay. So I rang Darryl Braithwaite, and I said to him, mate, we're making this feel-good TV show, dreams coming true for everyone. And he goes, yeah. I said, I'd like you to be host. And he goes, I'm a rock singer. And I said, I didn't say Darryl. I said, I'd like you to be host. And he said, I'm a rock singer. I said, yeah. And I called him Mark Hunter, which Mark Hunter was the head singer of Dragon, a group at the time. And so Darryl wasn't that. And I said, you are Mark Hunter, aren't you? And he goes, no, I'm Darryl Braithwaite. Oh, shit, I got the wrong name, man. Anyway, he got used to my sarcasm.
Yeah.
Although he did say, after we'd finished the TV series, given that we were shit stirrers, that he never wanted to see me again. But anyway, because if we actually pulled off a big dream, like we built a house for someone who never had a house, and it was very emotional, the camera crew would go out of a night time with dinner with Darryl. We had Darryl Braithwaite, a superstar with us, and we're just at a normal Chinese restaurant in Wollongong somewhere. And because we'd had a few drinks, we couldn't help ourselves. It was, how's that, or the horses song.
The horses song.
And so Darryl was, I've got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think he ever wants to do anything with me again. So what we did is that we actually invited Australia to send in requests for dreams, and it could not be for themselves, so it had to be for someone that they knew. And so, yeah, we surprised people with houses that when they didn't have a house. We had family reunions. People who didn't have a car walked out in the morning, had a brand new car sitting on their driveway. And one of the big ones was Michael Jordan helped us pull off. There was a little boy called Jay Campbell, and he was coming up to his 15th birthday. And about 6 months earlier, because he suffered from spina bifida, which meant he was in a wheelchair, life was not really kind to him, and he tried to commit suicide. And the local priest contacted us and said, look, this little boy deserves a break. When he was unsuccessful, thankfully, at committing suicide, some friends talked him into wheelchair basketball. And this little boy became a superstar at wheelchair basketball at the age of just under 15, so much so that he was in the under 16 Australian side. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. If the team scored 50 points, he scored 40 of them. He was that good, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore we surprised him at the Institute of Sport down in Canberra. At the end of one of his games, we had all of his team lined up in a row, and we had a dolly track, like a railway track for camera crews in front of them. And basically his coach, I wrote the speech for him, but his coach in front of a packed audience said, look, there's one, we are very, very proud to be here because you know, people are just wonderful playing sport in a wheelchair, and us people here are just, we're astounded by the skills and the determination you have. But there's one little boy here tonight who has a dream. And all that dream was, by the way, was to get Michael Jordan's autograph. That's all it was. And that wasn't good enough. So I actually faxed in those days to Michael Jordan's office a request that we could bring him to Chicago and he would, you know, meet Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was walking past the fax machine. He told me this personally. I said to him when we got there, how did this happen? He said, you're not going to believe it. He said, I get 1 million requests. It was the last year of his career, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I get 1 million requests a week. And he said, I was in my office once every 2 weeks. I was walking past the fax machine and it was going bzz, 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 coming out of the fax machine. And he said, I picked it up and read it about your story, this little boy in Australia, superstar basketball player in a wheelchair. And I said to my secretary, make this one happen.
That's a crazy story.
So the guy upstairs does work in funny ways. And I went, you're joking, 1 in a million chance. And anyway, so therefore, the coach is in the middle of the stadium and he says the camera crew comes across on the dolly track and stops straight in front of him. And you see the little boys just tear up. And he said, there's one particular boy here today that has a dream, and that dream was to get an autograph with Michael Jordan. Now you think that's enough. And the little kid starts crying, everyone's crying, goes, we're going one better than that. You're going to be on a plane on Thursday, flying to Chicago to have lunch with Michael Jordan.
Wow.
So that's what we did. We took him to the game the night before, and fortunately Michael Jordan's team won. And then the next day, Michael Jordan took him to lunch at the Michael Jordan restaurant in Chicago. Doesn't get much better.
That is so good.
Yeah, and the entire camera crew was in tears. Even Michael Jordan, and you wouldn't believe it, it was the little boy's 15th birthday on the day that he met Michael Jordan. And without even asking Jordan to do this, Michael Jordan organised a birthday cake with the candles. And Michael Jordan went into the kitchen and brought the birthday cake out to give him as the whole restaurant sung happy birthday. This little boy from Australia.
That most people couldn't. I think a lot of people might think that they would love to give back to the community, particularly when they get a little bit older in their career. Most people would not be able to do that on a scale like you did. How does it feel to give back like that? That's amazing.
Look, I'll be serious for a moment, and it was marvellous. Yeah, it was great fun. And I think the buzz I got out of it, we didn't make any money out of it because when Channel 10, we had a meeting with them. The pilot, you've got to give a TV station a pilot, otherwise they don't know what the show is. And I got Mal Meninga to do a pilot with me because we were doing the football cards previously to this. And it was a little boy from Tamworth called Jamie Barnes. And Jamie Barnes was only 11 years of age, and his father, unfortunately, was not a nice fellow, and he left him and his mum in a bad state, and they were living in a caravan. And his dream of all dreams was just to meet Mal Meninga, right? And so we did better than that. I got Mal to take him to New Zealand to a football game. And so Mal sat next to him in the plane, did the whole thing, you know, so it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And we played that to the Channel 10 programmer, and he's doing this, right?
Oh, good stuff.
And he says to me, I had Linda, who was working with me at the time, who was, I guess, my side channel. It was like Don and Bert, so she was my Bert, right? And Linda, who's still a great friend, was with me, and we're pitching this TV show. We'd done lots of TV commercials, never done a TV show. And I hadn't got Dale Braithwaite or anything at this stage. And he's looking at this Mal Meninga dream, and he's going, oh, this is unbelievable. This is fantastic. How much for the show? And I thought, shit, I hadn't thought about that.
No.
I don't know. I'd do it for free. I promised the big fella upstairs, So I went, well, it'd be $142,000. And he goes, 142,000. We get 90210 from America and the Simpsons for 25K. And I was tempted to go, oh, give us 25K. But I didn't. I held my ground. And I went, oh, yeah, but, we got big superstars in this. He goes, like who? I said, oh, I had no one. And I said, Michael Jordan. And he goes, you got Michael Jordan? I went, yeah. You can see Linda having a heart attack beside me. Go, WTF, And this guy, hang on for a minute. And he rings up Bill Woods, who was the sports announcer on TV every night on Channel 10. And we're on the 10th floor. Bill Woods is on the 5th. He goes, get up here. And I could hear this Bill Woods go, oh, he goes, I got a guy here that can get Michael Jordan. And all you could hear from the other guy is F me. And it was like a Seinfeld episode. Bill Woods comes into the room, like jumps in the elevator, gets up to the 10th floor. You know how like, what's the guy in Seinfeld? Kramer opens the door. It was like that, like Kramer. He opens the door and goes, where's the guy that can get Michael Jordan? I've been trying for 10 years to get him. Who is he? And that would be me. And he goes, how do you do it? I went, I'm just making crap up, of course. And I go, oh, well, we do the football cards recently, so I had the basketball cards in America. We're sort of BFs, And he, whatever it is, give it to him. So they booked up 6 episodes at 142 grand a piece. And we get outside and they're bear hugging us. We're their best friends now because I bullshitted. And we get in the elevator and Linda and I do high fives. Our first TV show. I said, Linda, this is unbelievable. And she goes, yeah, that's fantastic. I said, we've done lots of TV commercials, but it's our first TV show. She said, yeah, it's fantastic. I said, I just want you to do one thing for me, Linda. She goes, anything. I said, get Michael Jordan.
Now.
So, and you wouldn't believe, again, the guy upstairs worked in funny ways because we put out an all points bulletin to all of the churches and community centres all around New South Wales. And we did New South Wales because we were living near Sydney at the time, so it was convenient for us to do a camera thing. And a minister or priest, I forget what it was now, in Gosford responded to us and said, listen, if you're looking for a great story for your TV show, this little boy in the wheelchair, and all he wanted was an autograph. Well, autograph's too easy, so we took it a little bit higher than autograph, So, but we had Princess Di, we had Steven Spielberg. I've got to tell you I know that if you're a tradie, you're going, well, thank you, but this is not helping me sell more.
No, they love it.
The Spielberg one was really, really, really good because what had happened, this little boy had a skin-eating disease in northern New South Wales, and again, a family member contact. When you come on TV and you have 1.5 million viewers every Sunday night, you get quite a few letters or emails the next day, right? Because Daryl Braithwaite would encourage them, if you'd like to do something nice for someone, then let us know. And by the way, the 142 grand, Linda and I went, oh, that's right. We spent 175 on every show.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't about the money. I had to pay back. But this particular one, and I'll stop it there because, there's on my website, if anyone wants to go to theinstituteofwow.com and then just go to the menu bar that says John Dwyer, just click on that and you'll see Wow TV show. And I trust that if you do that, make sure you've got Kleenex sitting next to you. There'll be tears of joy, by the way, but make sure you got some Kleenex. It's pretty emotional. So what happened, this little boy had a skin-eating disease, unfortunately, and his dream was to be a movie maker. He wanted to be Steven Spielberg. And so therefore the family member said, is there any chance you could get Steven Spielberg's autograph? Again, too easy, So we contacted Spielberg's office and they said, look, he's in the Amazon jungle making Jurassic Park 2 or 3 or whatever it was at the time, but we'll get back to you. And Spielberg came back and said, yes, I will meet the boy, but no cameras. I don't want to be seen as milking it. And I had to explain to him, look, it's not that at all. We're trying to inspire everyone to be kind to other people. So therefore, if we can't film it, then we're not going to be successful. I know you don't want to show off because you are students, but please. And he reluctantly said yes, okay. And so therefore, we had the challenge of getting the little boy into the Amazon jungle.
You took him to Steven Spielberg? Oh, wow.
Well, it gets spooky. So what happened is that there was only 5 of us working on the TV program. There's so few people working on it because we had no clue what we were doing. So we didn't know you had to have a staff of 20 or 30 to make a TV show. So we just did everything. You know, if you had to get Qantas to fly us into the Amazon, we just got Qantas to do it. You know, at the end of the TV show, I had to make up all of my friends and relatives' names just for the credits, because we didn't have enough people, because the credits have got to run for 40 seconds. There was only me and 4 others. So I had all my mates' names. They'd be watching TV for Sunday night. Rob Breen, best boy. What does the best boy do? I go, shut up. You just had to put your name there. We had to take up enough time.
Talk about faking it till you make it.
The credits would have just been JD and 4 other people. Just repeat. So anyway, as it turned out, we organised various airlines to get him into the Amazon jungle. And we were just about to announce this to the little boy in his school. So, you know, Darryl Braithwaite will walk in and go, guess what? We know you want to be a filmmaker, but, you know, you wanted Steven Spielberg's autograph. Guess what? You're going to go and meet Steven Spielberg. You know, like, shut the gates all over. Just about to do it, we get an urgent phone call and from his secretary, and says, look, Mr. Spielberg has had legal people look at it. If the little boy has a skin-eating disease, there's mosquitoes the size of birds in the Amazon. We can't let you in from just a health insurance point of view. I went, oh, God, you know, you're kidding, because we were all very excited about this. And she said, but Mr. Spielberg said that if you like to still bring the boy over to America, then he will organise for the little boy to meet his friend, Steven Spielberg's friend. And I'm going, oh, true, that'd be like someone getting the chance to meet me and they get my wife Gail, you know, like, oh, seriously. Serious. I use that gag at the seminars, and you can see Gail down the back of the room has heard that line a million times. Yeah. And because my wife's off camera, by the way, that's why. And of course, her eyes are rolling, and everybody goes, oh, poor Gail. You know? Anyway, so therefore, I said, oh, yeah, okay. So they're going to fly the boy over to America to meet one of his friends. Who would that be? George Lucas.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, in San Francisco at his residence. So that's what happened.
At his house. Yeah. You went, oh, that's
Skywalker Ranch. Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, the thing is that, and if you do go onto the instituteofwow.com and look for the TV show, you'll have tears of joy. This was buzz after buzz after buzz. Robin Williams was involved. We had, like, the stories around the TV show could only have happened with some divine intervention, because there's no way that anybody sitting on this planet could have pulled off these things without his help. It was big time, yeah.
Well, you were doing something amazing. I think a lot of people like to be a part of that too, either celebrity or not, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, Dave, and again, I'm being serious for a moment, since we got to the end of the episodes and Channel 10 booked a half-hour series. So we had a 13-week series. And we were just in the process of making the first half-hour series, which was a beautiful story about a reunion of a nun in Ireland with her sister in Australia, both in their 40s, but never knew each other existed because they were split at birth, and we were just doing that one. When Channel 10's programmer left the business and a new programmer came in, and he cancelled the series. And we had every chance, every right in the world to take them on because we had the deal. But if you take on, in those days, 1 out of the 3 TV stations, then you won't work in this town again, you know. So unfortunately, it never came about. But we even gave the series to Channel 10, because I had to at least start making money out of it, because obviously the previous one I didn't. I was working as an advisor for Kerry Packer with ACP magazines. Okay, so that's Australian Consolidated Press, and I was responsible for helping sell more women's weeklies and women's days and so forth. And as it turned out, because I had decision-making process there, I wrote a proposal to myself at Women's Day to get Women's Day to sponsor Dreams Can Come True on Channel 10. And so therefore, basically, Women's Day was to sponsor the 13 episodes, to mean that Channel 10 only had to throw in 20 grand instead of like 80 grand. Oh, and so therefore, when I wrote the proposal to myself and I read it and thought that's good, I approved the proposal.
What?
That Women's Day would sponsor. So it was Women's Day presents Dreams Can Come True on Channel 10.
What?
So it's a Seinfeld episode. So here we were, you know, providing this unbelievable TV show for Channel 10 for just a smidgen, because I'm sponsoring. Oh, sorry, my client was sponsoring it. And unfortunately, yeah, this guy came in. I said, why do you not want to go forward with it?
Why not?
We were nominated for a silver Logie because of the fact we beat 60 Minutes in ratings. And he was a young gun, and he just said, oh, I don't like smolchy things, tear jerkers, you know, like he was of the millennial sort of, or whatever the millennials were in those days, but
Yeah.
he was young, he was 30-ish, and he just said, oh, look, it's a tearjerker show. I don't like tearjerker show. I said, have a look at the ratings.
That's okay. I want to touch on that because I've spoke to you off camera that I'm big into story. I love story. All of those have amazing stories, and that's probably what makes them so good. Obviously, you're pulling out the emotional, part of it. But I think maybe a lot of Sparkies would be sitting back going, these are huge, big kind of bets that you've been making, and I can't do that in my business. What do you think might be missing from traditional marketing? I mean, online marketing nowadays would be your Facebook, Instagrams. What do you think's missing? What could tradies do to try and get that wow factor in their advertising?
Stop marketing on price. That's it. That's it. I mean, the answer is really, really easy, and I get asked that question all the time. Consequently, it is an easy answer. Stop marketing your business on price, because if you are doing that, then you're just one of the crowd. So you are really in a Me Too industry and a Me Too situation if you're marketing on price. You've got to come up with something that's going to distinguish you. Now, whether it might be that you are giving back, and so therefore you can say X percentage of all of the work that I get goes to the Starlight Foundation. That's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But McDonald's have a McHappy Day every year, and that's wonderful, but it does not have any impact at all on someone making a decision to go to McDonald's. So I just say that's wonderful, and by all means do it, but it won't put a lot of money in the bank. Okay. The Greater Building Society, when I was there, I would get asked to consider all sorts of things, and one of them was that they wanted to donate $1 million to a charity, and they gave me another $1 million to promote it. I said, no, I can't do that.
Ooh.
And they said, well, we'll highlight that we're good guys. I said, no, give the $2 million to the charity. Okay, because the $1 million to promote that you're giving $1 million will not influence anyone to take the home loan out from you. They won't. There's no sponsorships that I know of that have any measurability. I mean, seriously, if I asked you who sponsored the Australian Open, you probably can't tell me, but back in the day, Ford Motor Cars sponsored the Australian Open. And when that marketing manager left and the new guy came in who was more of my mindset, he cancelled it because he asked the board of directors, you show me how we sold one more car from Ford sponsoring the Australian Open. And there was no measurability. There was no accountability whatsoever. And so therefore I'm an enemy of sponsorships, because I've never bought anything, because I barrack for St. George rugby league team. And throughout my younger years, Penfolds wine sponsored that. Penfolds all over. I never bought Penfolds wine because of St. George ever. And I would challenge anyone who's sponsoring. I mean, even the local, if you're a sparky or a builder or you're a plumber or whatever, you might be tempted to give your daughter or son's basketball team or football soccer team some sponsorship money, and it's got your name on it. But we've had 6 kids. I've been there a Saturday morning. Not once did I ever see anyone going with a pen and paper. Number 6, just slow down. I want to get the butcher's name and number on the back of your shirt. Like, it's just, you may as well just burn the money, because sponsorships mean no. It's just rubbish, all right? So what I would say is that stop sponsorships, unless, for example, there's measurability to it. I remember when I was at the Building Society as their consultant, and when I say I was there, I was not there every day, but I was there. This guy comes in and he thought he'd hit the jackpot. He said, look, JD, we have the New South Wales Junior Cricket Association, where there's 55,000 kids playing cricket every weekend. We're looking for 50 grand sponsorship for the Greater to be across all of their shirts and everything else. And I said, right, okay. And he said, I said, that's what we get. He said, yeah, be across the shirts. And, like the kits, the cricket kits will all have the Greater Building Society. I went, okay, look, we don't do $50,000 sponsorships. And he goes, you don't? And I said, no, we don't. We only do 100,000. So I'll give you $100,000, but I can't give you 50. He goes, fantastic. I said, just on one condition. He goes, yeah, sure. I said, well, obviously, if you've got 50,000 kids or whatever, 20,000 kids playing cricket, then you'd have all of their details. And he goes, yeah. I said, you'd have all their parents' details who might like a home loan. He goes, yeah. I said, okay. Will you let us contact them? You give us access to that database, and we'll contact them to invite them to take out a personal loan or a home loan. And we'd like to do that 5 times a year. You got your 100 grand. He couldn't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that would have been a hard sell. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, if he was smart, I mean, as you know, the world lives on data. I mean, there's a business called Amazon that does pretty well out of it. So what he should have said to me, he should have given me bear hug and a tongue kiss, for God's sake. You should have said, yeah, look, you don't hand over the database, you just give access to the database, which meant that the Building Society could send out X number of times a year an invitation for someone to have a meeting about a home loan health check. So, data is king. There's no question about that. And of course, in the world that we live in now, that's the case. But I would say to any tradie, look, stop marketing on price and come up with, dare I say, I know I'm plugging this, but it's the best I've ever seen. I've given away dining vouchers, petrol vouchers. I mean, I was the marketing guy at Woolworths, so I'm pretty familiar with petrol discounts, and that is very, very appealing. But guess what? If you give 10 cents a litre, not 4 cents, give 10 cents a litre away, multiplied by 50 litres, that's $5 you've just given someone. That's not going to give me hard nipples, seriously. You give me something that costs you a lousy $50, but it's worth $1,000. You got me interested, and that's the trick. The trick is come up with an incentive, a wow factor, a +1, call it what you like, that is appealing to your audience. Now, in a tradies instance, most of their audience are anyone with a pulse. Okay, so if I was marketing Billabong t-shirts back in the day, I know that these days even old farts like me wear Billabong, but when Billabong was the kids brand, then you better give them a skateboard. Don't give them a microwave oven. They're not going to be turned on with that, right?
Yeah.
And in the instance of you dealing as a tradie with homeowners, generally speaking, they're going to be 25 up. What do they want more than anything else? Because they're working hard, they want a break, they want to get away. So this is why these days when anybody says to me, how do I fix my business? I said, pretty easy, just do this. I wouldn't do that if this didn't work. If this is one of those things where it's a 50-50 chance, you do this. We've got a hardware store in Ocean Grove, Victoria, and he's a home hardware store, so he's part of a chain. But he bought the business where there was a vacant block of land across the road. What do you think they built across the road for me?
A hardware store? Bunnings?
Bunnings.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And I think I'm Mr. Unlucky.
Yeah.
I said to him, mate, you take gold medal.
Yeah.
So so therefore he came on board and said, what am I going to do? I said, oh, just kill yourself, seriously. Why do you ask me? Jump off a cliff, And so he does this. He says, spend $1,000 with me. So he makes it really, if you do a Happy Meal toy, just make it as easy as McDonald's do. Get the Happy Meal, get the toy.
Yeah.
The Greater Building Society, we're dealing with left brain thinkers, right? They are financial, operationally minded people, which means everything's glass half empty, not glass half full. So you can imagine me, Mr. Motor Mouth sarcasm, sort of cheeky, in with these people, seriously. They used to say to me, JD, the general manager used to say, what's it like to be a speedboat dragging an anchor? Yeah, I said, it has its moments, So, the thing is that even with a left brain business like that, I got it through. And of course, once we had the win on the board, and Seinfeld came along, of course, they actually started asking me, what sort of interest rate should we? I don't know. I'm right-brained. The spreadsheets scare me. So in the instance of, I guess, any trades business, don't sell on price, because there's the lead gen companies out there at the moment that give 3 quotes to anyone that wants solar or electricity, and I forget the names of them now, but you're familiar with them, where they advertise and then you
on your behalf.
And then they sell the leads to you.
Correct.
Guess what? They're giving that same opportunity to 2 of your competitors. Just blow them out of the water by giving them a Happy Meal toy. And the hardware store, he just says, spend $1,000 with me, and we have it on video, so it's not one of these stories where I added a few percent to it. He said, for $1,000, I gave him a free holiday. And he said, the Bunnings across the road can't match it.
Wow.
They can't match it. And he said he is up, wait for it, not 100, not 200, 450% within the first month.
That's crazy.
And these are not my figures, because I know when you get people like this on a podcast, they tend to sort of, exaggerate it. And I'm always skeptical because I'm in the seminar game, which is the bullshit industry.
Snake oil.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm going, that is not true. I remember one particular speaker, he was on stage and I was going on after him. It was a multi-speaker thing. And he comes to the green room at the back and he goes, oh, JD, how's things going? And I said, not bad. And I've just seen him on stage, right? And I said, how's things going for you? And I said, and he said, not good. I said, not good? What do you mean? He said, I'm down to my last 18K. I said, 18? I just saw you on stage. You've got boats and Maseratis and you've got Miss World as a wife and this, they've got castles. He goes, JD, that's showtime.
Showtime, baby.
So this guy, I've got him on camera, and he basically says this thing blew up my business 450%, and he's got Bunnings across the road. Like shouldn't happen.
That is
So
so
don't
good.
sell on price.
You did mention something. You said that most tradies, their target market would be anyone with a pulse.
Mhm.
Now, I purposely did this with my business, talking to tradies specifically, and I do say that to some of my clients is that if you can narrow down your target market, everything else in marketing becomes so much easier. Exactly what you were talking about with Billabong,
Oh, well, yeah, you did right.
anyone.
Yeah.
And you can then target all of your marketing towards them, whether it's the product or the service that you offer. So whether it is free holidays, but if it makes more sense to give away skateboards or surfboards, whatever it is,
Yeah,
you can do that.
It's called message to market match. Okay, and so therefore, you need to make sure that whatever your Happy Meal toy might be or your incentive, that obviously it's message to market match. And I've tried them all. I mean, again, coming from Woolworths, petrol discounts. See, if you want to do it quick and you've got a wide demographic audience, then something like fuel discounts or free holidays is just a no-brainer because it suits a 25-year-old and an 85-year-old. And I know that there are perhaps some tradies whereby your audience, it might be for new home owners or younger people who want to build a home, then your audience might be under 40. And so therefore you think to yourself, okay, well, what can I give someone under 40? Still free holiday, as far as I'm concerned. See, and I'm not flogging this just because, well, we make money. We pay a commission. The reason this has come about is that a travel company saw what I was doing with Seinfeld, okay? And they contacted me because when you're doing Seinfeld stuff, obviously it's pretty hard to keep a secret. And just before COVID, they contacted me and said, listen, you have half a clue by the looks of it in selling, holidays. We're a travel company. We get access to unsold hotel rooms around the world. I went, yeah, go on. And they said, well, these hotels are happy under the radar to have people stay for free. In other words, those people got a Happy Meal toy when they bought a refrigerator, right? So we're not dropping our pants and wrecking our brand at the hotel. So those people, generally speaking, will spend more on food and beverage because they've got a free room.
Yeah.
So we make our money out of food and beverage. So therefore, when you hand out this to Betty Bankstown, she goes and stays in Las Vegas or New York, because this is all around the world, by the way. It's New York, it's London, it's Europe, it's Australia, it's New Zealand, Bali. You can stay 7 nights in Bali. So it's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And when people stay there, of course, the hotel doesn't get any money from the room. It'll cost them $12 to $15 for the cleaner the next morning. But they make much more than that out of room service, cocktails by the pool, cafes, restaurants. So
that makes so much sense.
So that's the way it works. It's a very, very clever system. I said to them, I won't be involved if there's any timeshare presentations because no one wants it. He said, no, none of that rubbish. It's purely and simply giving up dead stock outside of school vacay. It's all based on unsold rooms, so there's no unsold rooms in school holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
But outside of that, Betty Bankstown can go to any of these places around the world and not pay for the accommodation because the hotel's betting that she'll spend money on food and beverage. So that's how it works. But the only business that we've knocked back for this, because we've had lots of solar and builders and renos and all sorts of business involved in it, but the only business I've knocked back, which demonstrates how it's universally appealing, is a former client of mine from some years ago out of Melbourne, your territory, who's a funeral parlour. And I used to look after his marketing for him. Back in the day, I told him that had he heard of flybys, and he had. I said, okay, well, let's have a reward program called die-bys. And every time we burn one of your relatives, you get a point. You save up for you save up for headstones. He thought I was serious, by the way. At one stage, he says to me, "You dickhead, you sir." I said, "No, you moron. It's a joke." So he came back for more. Like when he saw me advertising on Facebook with the holiday program, oh, that'd be good. So he rings me up and he says, "Oh, I said, are you an idiot?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You can't come out on social media and say, let us burn your relatives and you go on a free holiday." I mean, it's not exactly tasteful. So, he backed away. But that's the only one I've knocked back, really. The reason that the holiday thing is so good is because it's appealing to both sexes and all ages. And see, the thing is that if you give me a microwave oven and then I use your services again and you give me another microwave, I go, No, I only need one microblade.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll give you a lawnmower. No, I've already got that first lawnmower from you. I don't know. You give me another holiday after you've given me the first one, shut the gate, I'm still your best friend. So
Yeah.
that's the great thing with this, is that you can do what the best reward programs are ones that are based on a proportionate to spend. So therefore, again, I'm showing my Woolworths background, but these days Woolworths and Coles have taken a leaf out of McDonald's Happy Meals, and they say if you spend $30, you get a free toy. You've seen the Lego toys and all
Yes,
that.
yeah.
If you spend $60, you get 2 Lego toys. Spend $90, you get 3 Lego toys. Now, we've got grandchildren these days, and Gail, my wife, she will be at the supermarket thing, and she'll spend $52 and know that if she spends another $8, she'll get a second toy for the grandkids.
Yeah.
Now, I said to her, do you realize you've been married to someone who makes up all this stuff? What are you doing? Right? Seriously.
And for instance, like a Sparky could say, maybe somebody wanted a whole set of downlights put in. The value of that might be $800, but if you had to spend $1,000, they're like, well, let's go and put another 4 in the other room there. Maybe we'll do another 4 somewhere else. All of a sudden, you've captured $1,500 worth of revenue. Yeah,
so
it's very powerful. Well, if somebody is still listening and hasn't stopped because of John's waffle, we'll.
I don't think anyone will be on board. We're just talking about stuff.
So, if you're interested, maybe you're listening to this, you go, now I really do need a spark in my marketing. How can people get in touch with you, John?
They can't really, because
Are you...
I'm too
You're
important.
too important.
I'm too important, seriously.
Yeah, persistence is what I've learned. Persistence.
Exactly.
Just keep emailing him.
Dave, I've got people who look after my people, so that's how
important you are. Yeah.
No, mate, if they want to, it's theinstituteofwow.com, and my email address, because I'm not that important, is not admin@ or info@, it's john@theinstituteofwow.com. There's no AU because we are global, of course. So it's
playing with the big dogs here.
Exactly. It's John. And by the way, if you don't like sarcasm or having a good time, don't come anywhere near me, because I don't want to talk to you, right? John@theinstituteofwow.com, and our website is theinstituteofwow.com. If you're interested in this thing here, though, we have a website that you can have a look at. It's called funescapes.com.au. That does have an AU. So funescapes.com.au, and that'll show you how you get the hands on that. By the way, when you go to that site, you've probably been there, Dave, but you'll see that these things are $97 by 50. You've got to buy 50 at $97. But because Dave has been kind enough to let me ramble on in his podcast, we'll give it to you for half of that. And you'll see that when...
That's a ripping deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. And look, I'm being serious for a second, but if you do want to... I won't use the word skyrocket because that's silly, but if you wanted to increase sales, conversions for your business, then you've got to think outside the price angle, because if you keep on marketing yourself on price, the guy down the road can beat you in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You give them something compelling he can't match.
Now, did you want to talk about your book quickly?
Yeah, if you want to do one of these for free, and thank you, I'm glad you brought that up because I'd forgotten about that. I have a low attention span. So this thing here, how it came about was that when you do the seminar circuit, apparently you've got to have a book. And so the guys that were managing me on putting me on seminars and so forth, and incidentally, I mean, there was a couple of seminars. There was myself and 3 other speakers. One of those speakers is Gary Vee. Are you familiar with Gary Vee?
Yeah, I might know of him. Yeah,
Okay. And maybe some of the audience doesn't, but he's a guy out of America that's done pretty well, and he does the speaking circuit these days. But they flew him out to Australia and paid him $120K to do 90 minutes.
Oh, wow,
yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
I only charged 110, so it was
it was pretty close.
And but yeah, we were on the same stage, which was good. And I have to boast, at the end, it was a real estate conference of 500 people, and at the end of it, they had to vote who was the best of the 5 speakers. And I know this sounds very self-serving, but I came number 1 and he came number 2. Yeah.
Over the Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was, out of the 500 real estate agents, 400 were relatives of mine, but I mean, I still came in number 1.
You planted them all. I love it.
If you want this, this is the last, 15, 20 years of concepts here that are timeless, by the way. So if you think to yourself, oh, well, that idea was, 2005, they're all timeless. So it doesn't matter whether it was 2010 or 2023 or 2024, you'll find that there's ideas in here that you can just swipe and use, with my compliments. It is the size of a tabloid newspaper, and if I was to give you this real book, it's $420 just to print the damn book. It's got gold edges and all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to give you the real book because Mother Teresa is not my middle name. But what I will do is you can get this for free. If you go to, it's called the Wow Manifesto, and if you go to wowmanifesto.com.au /free. So it's wowmanifesto.com.au /free. Then, yeah, just fill in the form and we'll give you the digital version of that. Yep.
Amazing. Awesome. Well worth it, I reckon. Some pretty awesome stuff in there.
Thanks, Dave. And I paid Dave to say that.
Yeah. So
Your fee is going up every month.
it's huge.
Because your audience is going up, obviously, because you've got engaging guests.
Well, John, thank you so much for being on the Digital Tradie podcast. I've learnt actually a lot during this conversation, so thank you so much.
My pleasure, mate.
Cheers.
All the best.
Wow. Fun intended. Sorry, John. Anyway, if you want to know more about John, you can head over to his website. He's also got a pretty cool book called How to Wow. Also, could you share this podcast with your mum? My name is David List. This has been the Digital Tradie, and until next time, keep creating some legendary content.